What is up, everyone? My name is Sholtan, and today we've got some new type of content for you guys. I've been learning a lot about editing and how to export clips, and I've been getting better and better, and I want to bring some new kind of content to the channel. And since I'm focusing a lot on Anthem lately, I want to do my own take on Bioware's latest live stream. So coming forward, expect more content like this and much more to come, and let's get into it. So on the live stream that day, we had Ben Irving, who is the lead producer of Anthem, and Jesse Anderson, who is a community manager. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the things that were said during the live stream. I'm not gonna go through the whole live stream. I'm just gonna cut key moments and then give my own feedback about it. Because I'm very passionate about this game. I want to be vocal about it, and I want to give my feedback. So we're gonna get through the different points that were talked about, and we're just gonna, give our own take on it.
I think first off, the big one is where we're at with crashes. We just posted some stuff on Twitter, but we've been investigating crashes, disconnects, that kind of stuff. Very aware of the crash reports, specifically for PlayStation 4. We've found and fixed many crashes that will be in the March 12th patch, or the patch we're aiming for March 12th. As far as we know, there was some instances where PlayStation 4s would temporarily power down, but in every instance that we're aware of, you could power it back up. You just had to go push the power button, basically. And so it's definitely very safe to be playing PlayStation 4. And then we have some fixes for the issues that we're aware of coming soon on hopefully March 12th.
So I'm gonna start off with saying that this is a pretty bold claim, stating that it is completely safe to play Anthem on your PS4. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing good about your whole console crashing. Yes, the circumstances for it breaking itself are very rare. Like I've had few moments where my console crashed every now and then, and it never happened to me, but it's still a possibility. And every time that this can happen, you're pretty much rolling the dice. One thing I will say is most of the reports that I've heard about seem to be related to PlayStation 4 Pros mainly. I've never had a crash due to Anthem personally, so I can't, and I have a basic PS4. But everyone I've heard, every YouTuber that talks about it says that if it happened to them, they all have a PS4 Pro. So I would say if you have a PS4 Pro, maybe be a little more careful. But other than that, there's a bunch of other stuff that can happen. Crashing your console can corrupt your files. You can lose all your progress from Anthem specifically. I know I've heard one YouTuber mention that. So, just a pretty bold claim.
So that was the first one. The second one is, I think we're going to play the whole game today with our level 1 defender. Because that's the new hotness of what to play Anthem with. Just kidding. So we did just, it has been reported, and it's getting some traction on Reddit, that the level 1 defender rifle is doing too much damage. That's a bug, and we can fix it super easily. We just got to work out how quickly we can get that out. So our goal is to fix that real soon. So no worries about that.
So I'm glad to know that they're on top of the issue. So pretty much what happens is if you create a new default loadout on a Ranger specifically, I know I've tried it on the Colossus, and the level 1 Colossus gun didn't feel like it hits hard, but it didn't feel like it was worth it to change my endless siege over it. But the level 1 Defender, I've seen some clips of it, doing about as much, if not more damage than Masterwork guns. I know there's a lot of people jumping on the train for oh, loot doesn't matter, Bioware fucked up, they don't know how to. I find it kind of harsh. This is the kind of bug that I feel like, how do you prepare for that? I'm pretty sure BioWare never thought of, oh, we're gonna try some GM1 content with a level 1 gun. So I've seen a lot of criticism. I feel like it's a little unwarranted. I can understand, like, it is frustrating to know, like, oh, a level 1 gun is doing just as good as my level 45 gun masterwork. Um, but again, I think it's one of those bugs that just creeps up on the dev team, and some people are kind of overreacting, and they're gonna fix it. I don't think they're fixing it on the 12th, but as soon as possible. But right now, just use the guns. They said that they don't mind us using the level 1 guns. So if you want to use them while you can. You'll just get a really powerful gun, and once things get patched, it'll get better.
We're gonna play on the build that's gonna go out next.
Yep. So
right?
what you're going to see is the same build that you'll all have next week when you update. We're using Colossus.
First thing. Jesse, are you in a group? Yes or no?
No, I am by myself right now.
But you do see hold Y to start expedition.
I do.
So that was one of the things requested a lot.
So that is a pretty positive change. So I'm glad that we're seeing that on the 12th. Like they said, the things we're gonna see. If you want to go watch the live streams, because I'm only talking about the points that I think are really important. But there's a few things here and there that they talk about that are a little interesting, but that I don't feel warrant like a video on them. But there's a lot of little touches coming, like the one they mentioned here. So, when you're in a group, you have this option that you hold triangle and you can just go to the mission select screen. So they've added that option to be on even if you're solo. So this is going to help with the pace of Fort Tarsus, right? So if you have to go all the way back to, let's say, Bryn and get a contract from her, she's pretty much one of the farthest NPCs from your javelin. So instead of having to walk all the way there, you can just hold triangle and teleport instantly. So it's just gonna save some downtime, and it's just a really positive change there.
Oh, I need to.
We're going to Grandmaster 3, right?
We should probably just go up to hard here.
Okay, so that's cute. But in all seriousness, I know Jesse mentioned that he just didn't really have any really good builds. If you want, Jesse, I can hook you up, especially since you're playing a Colossus. Hit me up, man. I'll show you some really powerful builds. I'll work my magic on you.
And then I think the part we haven't done yet, and we'll just monitor it, and we're talking internally about some plans, are, GM 2 and 3, that's Grandmaster 2 and 3, don't feel as rewarding as we'd like them to be right now. I think from an efficiency standpoint and from a quality of loot you get perspective, either through like the drop rates or even the types of items that are dropping, the rarity and stuff like that. So we're going to look into that. That's not in this next patch, but we're on top of that. We're listening to the feedback, so...
Okay, so I've talked about the GM1 and GM3 issues, so I'm just going to take some time here to explain how I think the Grandmaster difficulties should work. So, to me, when you enter Grandmaster 1, what you should be looking for is, getting your first Masterworks. You're trying to fully kit yourself, and, once you have... a build that synergizes kind of well, but you don't have any you don't need any god rolls or anything on your gear, but you've got a basic build going on, and you're fully geared in Masterwork. That's when you go into GM2, and so to me, GM2 should bump up the Masterwork rewards, so that you get your chance to perfect your build. So you're trying to get these better rolls that synergize well and complement your build, with the occasional legendary. Because right now, like, I'm getting more legendaries when I'm playing GM1 than when I'm trying in GM2. I have yet to see a single legendary drop in GM2, and I've tried many times. And then from there, once you've got like a good build that synergizes well, and you got some pretty good rolls, or inscriptions, I guess, on your gear, then you go in GM3, and GM3 should be where you thrive to get legendaries. So I'd go as far as to say, when you're doing like a GM1 stronghold or a legendary contract on GM1 or GM2, those usually guarantee you, if you're doing strongholds, you're guaranteed like an ability, and if you do a contract, you are guaranteed a component. So the way I would see it is, when you're in GM3, I would go and say, instead of a masterwork being guaranteed, you should be guaranteed a legendary. Since once you're in GM3, you're no longer seeking masterworks. You're seeking legendaries. You're trying to turn yourself at the godlike level, sort of. So that's my take on it personally. It's up to them to find that balance. I'm not a game designer. I'm just sharing what the core philosophy of going into these tiers of difficulty should be.
So I wanted to point out also, if anyone was like, "Oh, noob, you overheated and crashed to the ground," did anyone notice how quickly I actually
Do it
recovered from
again.
that?
So I didn't realize you were looking at me. You were trying to time me to end talking, but I talked too much.
That's fine.
That's my fault. Okay, let's try again.
So when you overheat now, before Colossus players might have noticed, it took a little while to.
The heavy hit reaction was a
Yeah.
little brutal.
So overheating, running into walls, if you happen to do that, takes a little while. But so if you watch now, you crash into the ground. You can move pretty quick after.
If you blink, you miss it, basically.
Yeah. So.
So this is one of the smaller changes that doesn't affect everyone that I'm going to talk about, because I am a Colossus main. I'm pretty happy with that change. Apparently it's going to be on all hard hits, so if you smash into someone with your shield, like when you smash into an enforcer, you should be staggered a whole lot less. So you're not going to find yourself becoming a sitting duck every single time. So I'm happy with that change.
So other stuff, I mean, we almost suggest reading through not all the patch notes, but a bunch of the patch notes. We went through the patch notes. I think we made like 300 changes.
So this is where I'm gonna be a little harsh on Bioware. Good on you for getting that amount of work in your next batch. That's some real good commitment. But one thing I will say is the fact that you've had to change over 300 things to fix your game is a problem in itself. And I really hope BioWare learned a lesson there about the state that they released Anthem in. So yeah, it's great that you're fixing the game, but the fact that you have to fix it so much is an issue in itself.
Another piece of feedback was, hey, it's frustrating when I matchmake with a group of people that I don't know, or like I'm not on voice comms with, and they don't notice when I go down, and then they don't resurrect me, and I have no way to like do anything. So we really heard that feedback, agree it was frustrating. So what we've tried to do is we've removed as many of the respawn restricted areas as we can from the whole game. And just added a timer.
So I personally don't really like this change. The way I see it, it's more like avoiding a problem than anything else. I don't see what's so hard in just making it more, just making it easier to notice when someone is down. When you go down in Destiny, when one of your friends go down in Destiny, it clearly states Guardian down in your headset or through your speakers. So I think something like that would be really cool. Maybe some kind of red outline on the health bar of your allies. Because right now what I'm thinking with this is, is this really fixing the problem, or is this gonna remove some of the difficulties, right? Because I've seen Rurikon talk about this. So pretty much now, most areas that were once respawn restricted will only have a timer now. Um, so the thing is, Anthem is one of those games that I feel you have to be very aggressive. You wanna be really heroic in that game, and be ballsy with what you do. Um, but now with the idea of the timer, instead of trying to go for these heroic moments where you're trying to save your friends, what's really gonna happen is you're just gonna hide in a corner, wait 30 seconds, and then once everybody's respawned, then you can go back in. It used to be an issue in Destiny all the time, in certain areas, and we'll have to see. Maybe it's the right call, but personally, I think this is just avoiding the problem, and there are better ways to fix it. So yeah.
So next content drop. So we've talked a bit about content that's coming. We released a 90-day calendar. In there's a whole bunch of stuff slated for March. So our plan is to still release the things in March. We don't have new content in this patch, March 12th, new content specifically, but the one after, at the end of March, we hope to get a couple of things in there that we had talked about before, like the Elysian chest, we called Stronghold chest before, and the legendary missions. Again, that's not a commitment, that's like a goal, just trying to be transparent about what we're aiming for. Like I said, many things happen, so that's our goal for now, though. So that'll be the next thing. This is a couple weeks.
So again, I understand that they need to fix the game first and foremost, and good on them for focusing on that. But it is kind of a shame that we're not seeing any new content on the 12th. I would have liked maybe like the Elysian chests and legendary missions. I don't think those are really hard to implement, but I can understand that they want to make sure that the game is fixed before adding more parts to it. But like I said, it is a shame that we have to wait for so long, and I start thinking to myself, are they really gonna have time, to do the whole roadmap schedule that they have for March, or are they gonna have to start pushing stuff back? And if they start pushing stuff back, like, is it gonna push Cataclysm further, because we have to wait till May for Cataclysms, and like I mean, if it has to be pushed until June, then that starts to become a problem. So again, I'm glad that they're fixing the game, but I also hope that it's not going to affect the schedule for content too much. But we'll have to wait and see on that.
Okay, so There Be Giants, I think, was a pretty cool event. An event being something that has a limited time to it. In that example, it was like 3 days. We also did some other things like Outlaw Outrage, which we filled all the free play with outlaws. There's actually a named outlaw out in the world. I didn't actually see anyone post about that, but who drops kind of better loot. So next time that's on, you should watch for that. But I think like some of the challenge was it wasn't directed enough. Like Outlaw Outrage, there's outlaws everywhere. Like that's kind of cool. It's kind of different. But we kind of learned that, hey, it's probably better to have like a specific area of the map where something happens, and then we direct you to that area so that you're not flying through all the free play trying to discover something.
So another thing that I complained about in the past, when the event There Be Giants was on, I was unable to find any of the giants. Outlaw Outrage, I wasn't playing early access, so I don't know about that, but I didn't really... I had never heard anyone actually mention it. Most people seem to not even have been able to find the Outlaw Chief, which Ben talked about. But I like the fact that it made them realize that maybe we need more direction. And one thing I would like to add to that is not only for, new scheduled events that come up every now and then, world events, I would like to be able to be directed towards those. There's a lot of times where I'm playing free play and I'm just wandering around and trying to find an event to get a chest or something, and it's just not working out, and I end up getting bored. I barely play free play because of that issue. I have a problem with having to fly around and trying to find the events and not knowing where they're going on. So a system like Destiny, where you can see when events are coming up and where they are, maybe a ping system or something. If someone finds an event, they can ping it to other people. That'd be great. So just a few suggestions there. But we do need more direction when we're playing free play. I know it's called free play and you can do whatever you want, but some of us don't like to wander around doing fuck all for like half an hour. So just a suggestion there.
Okay. There's been a lot of questions about a stats page. So just to say, yes, we think we should add a stat page. Yes, it's important. We've been talking about it long before any Reddit posts and the image that gets sent to me every 45 minutes has been around. We just have to work out how quickly we can do it and when we can add it in. So there's no timing for that. It might be soon, it might not be soon. But we at least want to recognize, yes, you all are right. If you're doing builds with Masterworks, having a stats page is super important, and we're going to work on that. And when we have an update of timing or whatever, we'll make sure to let you all know.
So it's good that they want to add a stat page, but again, you come back to the question, why was there not a stat page in the game on release, right? Especially for someone like me who likes to min-max his builds, it becomes kind of annoying trying to check oh, how much do I have there, how much do I have there, how much armor do I have, and trying to calculate it when you could just have a stat page that shows you stuff like that. And then when you're trying to compare, you're looking at these numbers, but you can't see the actual changes, and so you're like, is this component really better than this one? Do I prefer these rolls? So again, I'm glad it's coming, but this should have been in from the very start. I know Anthem was always going to be a little bit more RPG than Destiny was. Destiny, you don't need a stat page on Destiny. Destiny is pretty straightforward, but Anthem is a little more in-depth. And so I feel like a stat page was just a little obvious. I'm almost starting to think maybe one of the reasons that there wasn't one is so people would not see how fucked some of the systems are. The fact that a level 1 gun is actually stronger or as strong as a masterwork. That's kind of a problem. So I guess probably once they get these things sorted out and they're more confident in the stats actually working as intended, then that's probably when we're going to see a stats page. But again, this should have been in from the very start.
There's a bunch of problems on respawning where you would end up behind a wall, a closed door you couldn't get back in. We've tried to catch as many of those spots as possible and remove them so you spawn on the right side of the wall.
So another thing that I talked in the past in my original Anthem review, the wall, the freaking wall. The problem is they're stating that it's when you respawn, when sometimes it's not when you actually respawn. Sometimes you'll just be a little bit behind someone and the wall will just appear in front of you. So what happens then? Are you gonna actually be teleported to the right side of the wall? I'm hoping this is the case. If not, well, I guess it's just going to be another problem that still needs more fixing. But yeah, just fix the fucking wall. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want that thing anymore to appear in my face and block me off from a boss fight or something.
What about the health bar glitch? I feel certain that we fixed it. So for reference, I think what this means is sometimes when you load into different difficulty missions, the UI would show different amounts of health bar pips, basically. Yep. And it was just a UI thing, you had all the right health as far as I understand. I'm pretty certain we fixed it in this patch as well, 85%. So sadly, the health UI bug isn't fixed. So we're still working on that, sorry.
So here I'm going to talk about an issue that I yes, it's an issue that the health UI bug isn't fixed and whatever, but it's not something that really affects me to a gameplay level. per se. But the one thing I will say is what was apparent there is how unorganized and unprepared BioWare was for this live stream. I feel like you guys need to be a little bit more organized. Like, we're looking at these live streams for answers and for clarity, and when you're talking out of your ass and stating that you're 85% sure that something is fixed, and then like 5 minutes later you say, oh no, my bad, it's not fixed, that becomes a problem. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't mention it. And I would advise to come prepared to these live streams. Like I said, players have expectations for what they want to hear from you guys, and you guys decided to commit to these live streams, and you should be prepared. You should have questions ready to prepare. I would almost go as far as to say maybe you guys should meet each other before the live streams and kind of talk about what you're gonna actually say. Because I feel like the 45 minutes we spend in this live stream, not a whole lot was actually answered when you think about it.
Oh, someone said ultimate buff, exclamation points. So let me talk about that.
Yes.
So one of the things that we weren't happy about was how combat abilities that don't have item scaled. Almost like a weird sentence, but what that means is like you don't have a melee item, you don't have an ultimate item. So how do those things scale, right? And we felt like, and people reported this on the forums and on Reddit and social media, but as you push, like, I think GM1's not too bad, but GM2, like melee damage and ultimate scaling really wasn't good. What is a masterwork now is 45, right? Chat, 45?
So here they're gonna talk about, how they want to scale, your ultimates and your melee damage, since these don't have a particular item on you in your loadout that, dictates how much damage they're actually doing. So from what I understand, these are they scale from your gear level, so from the overall gear score that you have. The problem here that I saw is you can see like Ben is actually a little confused on what is the actual power level of Masterworks, and that's kind of, I don't know. I know he's doing a lot of work, and they're currently working with the current patch, so he's probably used to this, but I feel like, again, like you should have been prepared. You should know these things. You should check up and make notes and just make sure that you're prepared to give actually good answers.
So, and now it's like 61. So like you'll log in and have like all this extra power. It's not like you have more power, but part of doing that was to get the distribution between the tiers of items to be more in line with what we wanted for damage scaling, and that also facilitates the melee and ultimate scaling as well. So, yeah. Does that make GM3 easier now? No, it should. Well, like, your melee and ultimates will do more damage. Yeah, but I think it should all be about the same. I guess you guys will tell us.
Again, like, he's not sure about the numbers he's calling. He's not sure. Like, I feel like he's kind of taking some of it out of his ass. And another problem I have is that last sentence, right? Like, oh, you guys will tell us. Like, this over-reliance on your player base giving you feedback all the time. I understand that, online games require feedback from their player base, but I feel like here we're almost seeing an over-reliance where it's like, oh, we're not actually testing it, we're just going to throw it out there and see how you guys feel about it. And, again, like, I don't know, I didn't pay to play a fucking beta test here. I played for a full finished product. And so if it's going to be like that at every patch, it's just, oh, we're just going to bring it out, see if, like, are we always going to have this back and forth where it's like, oh, this worked great, oh, this didn't work, oh, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, and it just goes on and on. I don't know, it feels kind of frustrating. We're not here to test your game for you guys. We're not here to balance the game for you guys. You guys are game designers. You're big boys. You're supposed to be able to figure it out. So again, like, I'm glad to give feedback on certain things, but I don't want to see an over-reliance on the player base there, where it's like we're almost, doing part of the job for you guys.
That flamethrower on a Titan, like, isn't your greatest ability.
I'm just no, but look! Did you see for a second? I actually primed him.
Did you?
That was a
detonate?
change
Did you
that I wanted
combo?
to talk about. Was so
yeah.
you can now prime Titans.
Thank you for that change. I talked about it in the past again. How frustrating it is when you have like an all-elemental loadout, like my Stormtrooper not Stormtrooper, what did I call it? Shock Trooper loadout, where I have a flamethrower and a lightning coil. That stuff does 0 damage to a Titan. So if you go in there with a loadout like that, and you come face to face to a Titan, you end up only being able to rely on your ultimate, which again right now isn't really that strong in harder difficulties, or your guns. And if you end up running out of bullets because there's not any HADs dropping bullets as you kill them, then that can become a problem and make the encounter very frustrating. So, like you can see, he's not doing crazy damage with his flamethrower or his lightning coil, but at least at least you're able to do something. You're not rendered completely useless. So that's a very positive change that I'm very happy to see.
There is something that we missed. Didn't we, like, increase the base damage of all masterwork weapons? Is that true?
Yes, that is
That
true.
is true. Okay. Yeah, I think, I certainly find this when I'm playing, like we've had this philosophy for a long time that gear is really important in Anthem. It kind of separates us from other games, and we really like that. But I think some of the masterwork weapons just felt like it was a bit of a struggle to use them, especially in, like, GM1 Plus. So we made them a bit better. So we probably didn't buff the autocannon. Probably not. Just
Probably
spoiler, because that thing's amazing.
So, we've got the buff to melee damage and ultimates coming from the power level increase in Masterworks, right? So they're coming from 45 to 61, as Ben said. And then on top of that, they're buffing the damage of most of the Masterwork guns. So not autocannons, so kind of sad, Endless Siege isn't getting any more OP. But whatever. But one thing that I'm kind of scared of is, are we getting into some kind of a power buff a little too fast, right? Like, they haven't yet fixed the issues of loot rewards for Grandmaster 2 and Grandmaster 3, and so, like, we're gonna get really strong out of a sudden, and we're just going to run Grandmaster 1 content, really. Or, we're going to run more Grandmaster 2. It's going to be more comparable to Grandmaster 1. But right now, like, most people are grinding in Grandmaster 1 because it feels more worth it. And so what I feel might happen is we're just going to get through Grandmaster 1 content even faster, and it's just going to increase our reward rate. And so the danger here is, by the time they get to actually fix Grandmaster 2 and Grandmaster 3, like, some of us are going to be, like, really deep in the grind and really high up in the build power.
Gear in the game is lame. It's actually not. The gear is really cool. So it wasn't even a question. That was a statement you made, but it's fine.
I mean, you answer with your own personal statement there. I think he kind of read that wrong. So, the things that the gear does is fun. As someone who likes to min-max his build and everything, I really enjoy, what components and Masterwork guns can bring to the table build-wise for your character. Like, it's really fun to find these different play styles for my Colossus. But the way I would see it is, what the gear does is fun, but when it comes to physical appearance of the gear and how your character looks, that's where I'm like, this is kind of lame. So, First of all, there's the lack of armor customization. That's a big problem right now. And then there's also the guns themselves, right? Like, if you go to the level 1 defender and you get a masterwork that you'll actually have like masterworks of that type of gun, but it's the same skin, but it just feels like they slapped on a vinyl on it and changed the colors a bit. And then when you get into legendaries, it's just a full copy of the masterwork. And that's where I feel like gear is kind of lame when it comes to the physical appearance of the gear. I feel like there's not enough stuff that we can put on ourselves that makes us stand out. Whereas I feel like when you get a legendary gun, it should feel legendary. It should have, maybe a special effect on it, maybe some ornaments on it. Like I said, for armor customization, we definitely need more in that department. I know we've got Elysium chests coming in, but there's no confirmation that there are actual armor pieces in those chests. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that's what I had to say on that.
We've heard your feedback about store. We're just trying to work out what we want to do. So people have been kind of asking like, hey, can you rotate fast? Can we have more stuff? So we're looking at that. Like, yeah. So we're hearing the feedback. We just got to work out some options there.
Yeah, all I gotta say here is the store kind of sucks. There's like only one kind of Colossus armor that I've seen rotating in there. We see a lot of repeats. There's times where there's no armor at all, and it's just animations and color. Well, not colors, but patterns and vinyls, and it's not the kind of stuff I want to see in that store, right? I'm here to get, if I see a nice piece of armor and I've saved up for it, that's what I want to see in the store. Personally, I think we need either, like they said, either a bigger page or a faster rotation so that we can see stuff. But I'm afraid that the faster rotation would feel kind of a little too intense. Like, oh, you only have 2 days to get this item and you don't have enough. Making money isn't that fast once you clear a lot of challenges. So I don't know about that. Again, they just have to be careful with it, and I hope they find the right kind of balance and that there are more interesting items coming hopefully soon.
Just want to say we're going to keep streaming. We're not stopping. We're going to keep doing this. We're aiming for the goal of doing it every 2 weeks, kind of how we've already been doing. So, yeah.
Yep. Otherwise, thanks again for all the support, all the feedback. A special call out. I know there's a lot of great community members who put a lot of energy into writing really constructive feedback, either in positive or negative ways. And that's the best stuff. Like if you're asking yourselves, how can you help influence the game? The absolute best thing you can do is be vocal, but do it in a constructive way that explains why you feel this way, the reasons for it. That's the stuff that we really love reading. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
So yeah, a pretty positive. I have problems with certain parts of the live stream, they didn't seem prepared enough, or Ben not really being too clear on certain information regarding his own game. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. But again, they were probably stressed out, right? I think this is the first live stream since after release. And so, you have to actually face your community after they witness what the final product actually is, and that final product having a lot of issues with it. But, I think they owned up to it. They clearly seem like they're trying to fix things with this upcoming patch. I mean, 300 problem solves is massive. The fact that they have to fix so much, like I said, is a problem all of its own. But it's still commendable that they are working at this pace and that they really want to fix this game and make it right. And I think it's, what they need to do right now. Just fix the game and add the content later. Hopefully the content doesn't get delayed too much. But yeah, I'm hopeful for this patch. At least I hope the patch will bring the game to a stable state where they can start, putting more people on the team working on the actual content. For now, I did notice that Derby Giants is currently going on. So I'm going to be checking this out and probably do a video on that. And yeah, this is the kind of new content I'm hoping to bring to the channel. Like I said, I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to perfect my editing and getting more resources. Like right here with pieces from the live stream. Like I didn't know how to do that before, and so I had to learn it and then apply it. And it's kind of weird because I do everything from my PS4, so I have to like put stuff on a USB drive and then bring it into the program that I use, SHAREfactory, and then work from it in there. And it's probably not the best way to do it, but it's how I know to do it, and it works for me. And I'm comfortable, sitting in front of my TV and doing this. And I'm just really enjoying doing this stuff, and learning as I go and getting better. And I've been really appreciating the feedback from the small community that we have, um, and I hope that by keeping to expand the vision of my channel, we're gonna get to grow that community and have more fun and probably maybe do activities, stuff like that. I try to stream every now and then, so if you guys see me online, hit me up. Don't be afraid to talk. I know I've had a subscriber that sometimes comes in and participates, and that's really cool. But yeah, expect more and more kinds of content coming to the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.